Hey everybody, welcome to episode 44 of FoundersGyan and thanks for tuning in. In case you're tuning in for the first time, we feature the inspiring story of a startup and the founder behind it. This week we have Amrit and Guru, the founders of Xobin, that is Xobin.com, featured on the show. Do check out the show notes over at foundersgyan.com/EP44 for links to all that we discuss about on the show. Are you ready? Let's get started. Okay, Amrit and Guru, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to meet you and be chatting with you today. Amrit and Guru are the founders of Xobin, that is Xobin.com, a platform for testing and hiring smart developers, allowing tech recruiters to conduct real-time video interviews to ask wide-ranging open design questions. Prior to founding this company, Amrit worked at Fidelity Investments, creating products for financial gurus. Creating products for financial advisors. Yeah. Guru, on the other hand, immediately jumped into the startup world after his engineering. Before Xobin, both Amrit and Guru were part of the founding team at SRM search engine, which successfully got funding from NIXI, that is the National Internet Exchange of India. Amrit and Guru, great to meet you and thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your knowledge, wisdom and time with our listeners. Thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
Hello, Amit.
Thanks a lot.
So let's talk a bit about your journey. Mm-hmm. So Amrit and Guru, did I get everything right about your background up until Xobin?
Yeah, a little bit. So actually both of us are in the same batch. So both of us jumped immediately after engineering, right? And so we were actually, I started SRM search engine. We wanted to build a search engine and we weren't competing with Google. It was not a commercial startup. For educational purpose, we were building a search engine and we got funding from the government of India for it, right? So I started it when I was in the first year itself and Amrit joined me when he was in second year. And our team was 70 people, strong, right?
72
yeah,
odd
70, right? So almost all the good students in our college came together. And since we had funding also, right, we got a lab for ourselves. And so we pretty much built a good working search engine, right? And but one good thing which we did was the attrition rate in our team was extremely high because students got pressure and they started dropping out. So being the project head, one of my daily routines was to conduct interviews. So till date, I would have conducted almost 1,000 personal interviews. I had opportunity to interact with them, and we needed developers. Right? So post 3 years, we handed over the search engine to the government of India, and the project is still being carried out by my juniors, the team which we established. And so post which Amrit went to corporate side, and I went to a startup side, and we started exploring the hiring space, right? And I was actually one of there was a startup called there were a lot of startups in Koramangala. I was a part of them. I was helping them hire good developers for their company, and the problem which we faced was the type of talent that a startup requires is very much different from a talent which MNCs require. So me and Amrit used to meet in weekends and differentiate. So what we found out was there has to be a tool which would help startups across, hire some kick-ass developers. Okay, there has to be a tool to do that. So we started a journey in that, and we met over 100 CTOs in Bangalore, right? We even met very high profile, I don't know I can name them here or not, but we met quite high profile folks, and all of them agreed with them that there has to be a tool. The existing tools really don't help evaluate talent, and especially in a place like India where there are lakhs of engineers who are actually jobless, right? The active job seeker pool is high, so when you open the doors, a lot of engineers can come in. But startups need a tool to evaluate whether these guys are actually good or not, whether they have the right technical aptitude or not. So Xobin helps you do that, right? So that was the main inspiration to start up.
So to sum it up, we felt that a problem exists in hiring, not in terms of sourcing the candidates, but in terms of assessing them really.
Right.
That was what we felt when we met with a lot of CTOs. And we felt we were technically adept at solving this kind of a problem. So that's how our journey began.
Okay, excellent. Now, explain to us a little bit more about how Xobin helps solve this problem, right? How is it?
Yeah.
How is this tool different from say other job portals? Maybe.
Correct.
And obviously, you already touched on how you came up with this idea.
True.
So just explain to us the detail, a little bit more in detail how Xobin is different.
True. So that's actually a good question. So Xobin is primarily built for startup tech hiring. So you see, developers in startup function differently, and a developer in MNC functions differently. For example, a developer in a startup has to do both the front end, the back end. They are called as full stack developers.
Right.
Typically, a company between early to mid stage, right? They need full stack developers. But on the other hand, MNC hiring, they have departments of people. One set of departments does this and does that.
So there are separate developers, there's
Yeah.
separate testing team, there's a separate infrastructure team.
So Xobin helps you identify good full stack developers, someone who's a generalist, someone who can do multiple things. So our platform has multiple high quality assessment modules, right? Not traditional assessment modules that would kind of tell you whether this person has the correct technical aptitude to fit into your startup or not. So a startup can sign up to Xobin to check whether the candidates they're going to pay 6 lakhs or 5 lakhs is worth enough paying that much or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it like a paid service for startups? Do you have a free tier that some of
We do have a free tier where the first 5 candidates who are tested for free.
Right.
But over and above that, we charge a certain amount per candidate who is interviewed.
Okay, great. So if any of our budding founders are listening out there, or any of our existing startups are listening out there, they can go to Xobin.com, register themselves, and check it out for free.
Yes,
for
any startup which is recruiting for developers, we would love to work with them.
Okay, great, excellent. Now, for our budding founders listening out there, can you tell us how we can also come up with a good idea like this? So, you already touched on that. You guys were talking about this and were feeling that there is a lack in this space, that there is an issue, there is a need to be solved. But what got you guys talking about it, and also tell us the secrets of how can we also do it,
So actually, many of the people who actually want to start up, they are starting up because they want to get funded, and that is the main thing. There is a fundamental problem over there, right? Because the startup journey itself, right, the biggest trick is, it's not a trick, right? It's actually not the glamour part, right? You're going to suffer a lot, right?
Right.
So you will actually have to take an idea which you like. See, in me and Amrit's case, right, we love people, right? We believe in identifying talent in others, and we think that's cool. And we would do it for free. We are actually doing it for a lot of startups. We help a lot of even big startups hire good developers for free. We don't even charge them, right? So you have to pick something that you love, so that when you are in the tough times, it really does not hit you. So ultimately, persistence is the only thing that's going to measure the which is going to bring you success on a longer run.
Right.
I think we have more than 1 million people who are joining our workforce every month, which makes more than 12 million people joining our workforce every year. Therefore, we do need a lot of startups to cater to this kind of young talent which is there in India. And that's what we want to do. We want to help startups get the right kind of young talent into their company.
Right.
In terms of idea, I also feel that it's a lot about bouncing off your thoughts with somebody else. Because a lot of time when you go to events, when you talk to people, the more the number of people you talk to, the more opinions you assimilate. That's when you start developing more ideas. So I think people got to go out there, got to talk to more people, meet new people, and just bounce off your
that's
thoughts.
what you have to put yourself in that place in order to find. Just sitting in a room, say, I want a startup idea, is not, or maybe drinking a beer might not get you a startup idea, but you'll have to put in this you'll have to give yourself some good exposure.
Explore on your passion. Go to startup events. And find problems that
You got to keep yourself in the right ecosystem to get that kind of an idea.
Okay, great. Now I just want to come to the next question, which is like Amrit, you already touched on this, that an idea is just that. The execution is what matters. So what are the steps that we need to follow in order to make the idea into a reality? So let's say we have a good idea and we want to execute that. So can you give us some high level steps on what we can do? Should we do a MVP? Should we do a market research? Should we just follow our passion? What should we do?
I think all the entrepreneurs, including ourselves, right, when we have an idea and we get excited about it, right, and especially if you're a coder too, you close your eyes and start coding. That's a big mistake, right? Because your idea is not, coding is not going to do anything, right? When you have an idea, you should minimum at least talk to over 100 people who are actually related with the idea. I mean, I'm talking for a B2B thing. If it is for B2C, then it is actually in thousands.
Right.
So if it is a B2B product and if it's an idea, go directly to your customers and at least just prototype. It doesn't really have to be a working product, right? Just a wireframe is enough. There is ballast make and other things. Just draw a quick wireframe and then show I'm trying to do this, right? And then I think when you do this itself, right, you'll start getting problems. The people whom you meet will say that, Acha, this is not it, I don't want that. And only then you will start learning about the market. Market research, again, it cannot be simply, okay, I'm studying about the market, reading books won't do. When you actually try to do a product and when you go meet people, right, they will point the mistakes out. That is the actual learning. So you have to meet such people before even coding the product, right? When you do this, you get a good clarity about what you're going to build. And post which, start off your development work and try to get some early pilot customers.
To add to what Guru has said, on one side people directly jump into the technical aspect of it. On another side, people get into something which is called the analysis paralysis, where they overanalyze something too much and they miss out on the market opportunity. So as my friend has said, that you got to go out there and make sure that whatever prototype you have or MVP you have, you are showing it to people and taking their response, because things are always iterative. So you got to come back, you got to improve on that, and then finally go into the market.
And a lot of young people, we get motivated by a lot of exciting books and movies where you have idea, you drink a couple of beers and code, the idea becomes a $1 billion business. A lot of movies promote that, but that is actually not 1% of this thing. Remaining thing, your idea can only be a success at the third or fourth iteration. As Amrit said, the first iteration, 100% sure it's going to fail. Right? The second and third iteration, it might. The next evaluation of your product is when you will actually learn about the product and you will have clarity, and only when you have the clarity you can communicate with your
so you got to
customers.
learn not just about your idea but the industry where your idea is going to work and who are the competitors. This is going to take time.
Right. Great points. I think what you guys are saying really resonates with me, because I know of quite a few startups who spend months and months and months coding, trying to get that perfect product out, which is a big mistake, because the market could change, customers may not be happy with what you have put out and so on. So I think it's all great and very relevant and pertinent to startups. So thanks for sharing that. Now let's get into a bit of a personal question. Now we all hear about founders sacrificing family time to make their ventures a success. So can you tell us a bit more about your own personal lives and how you manage business and personal time?
So I'm not actually a very correct person to share about that, because I understand that family time is a lot important. But then my family is back in Chennai and I'm here in Bangalore all alone trying to do it. But I think before my early stages, before I even moved to Bangalore, when we were ideating Xobin, I was in Chennai, and I was staying with my parents. They've been of great support. I think it's always quite important that you maintain a good relationship with whoever you're closely associated with, because when things get wrong or when shit hits the ceiling, you're going to go back to them, because and in startup 100% sure it's going to happen that way, unless and until you are extremely lucky, things are going to, there'll be ups and downs in your life, when you do it. And so family is a very vital part, and I'm not very good at it, I'm trying to improve on it, because especially when your startup is at an early stage, you tend to pull out 18 hours a day and 19 hours a day, and the only place you go to your bed is to just sleep and wake up and then come back to office and do something cool.
Right, so I think you would benefit from listening to some of our past episodes on FoundersGyan, because a lot of founders give great advice on how to balance
Sure.
personal and family time.
Sure,
So I
sure,
think
sure. Yeah.
it might help you. Amrit, you have anything to add to this?
Well, I'm a second generation entrepreneur. My father was himself an entrepreneur, and he not just started one, but he started 3 odd companies. So I've seen a lot from the way my father manages his business, and I've taken a few key things, but it's also that my family understands a lot. So you know that this is an early stage. So they call me regularly once in a week to make sure everything's all right, but they do give me my freedom. I do manage to go back home once in a while, so that's how I maintain my family life.
Okay, I guess.
They do give me my freedom, so
Okay,
that's
I guess both of you would benefit from this.
FoundersGyan.
Yeah, listening to some
We'll do
other
that.
founders.
Yeah,
Now let's talk about daily ritual. Is there a morning or a daily ritual that you follow? Can you share it with myself and our listeners? It could be a personal one, like maybe you like working out or meditating or something, or a professional one like doing something first thing in the morning before you get into work.
The one thing that I do is when I read extensively, right? I read both in Tamil and in English, right? So reading is good, and every day morning I read Tirukkural, right?
Right.
It's a good thing, exercise. Though I know I've learned a lot of Kurals, but then I read it. So and then it's again reading, right? And night before I sleep, I read some good books. Recently I was reading a book which I missed to read called as a Rework. So that's it. And apart from that, our schedules tend to keep changing, right? And
Right.
especially in your early stage entrepreneurship, right? Suddenly you'll have to go to meet a customer. See, even if a customer is potentially showing interest, right?
Right.
I'll want to meet that person.
Sure.
And he might be in Bombay. I don't really mind spending that money to go meet that person and just get the feedback from him and come, because when you're at early stage, your the insights from your customers are very valuable.
Right.
So schedules keep changing, but I make sure that I follow these two things, right? 2 books, at least 2 chapters a day.
Amrit?
Yeah, so every week or every day, as he said, schedule might keep changing, but I do maintain a certain list, because I believe that you can finish 80% of the work in 20% of the time. So every morning when I come, I create a priority list which says that these 3 things are the key priority things that I have to complete, and I do my work in a priority way. So for me, the ritual is creating my priority list so that I know what stuff I have to do.
So priority list for the day.
Priority list for the day, for the week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it makes sure that even though my schedule changes, I might have to do a little bit more of work on one side on a particular day, but I still have the big picture of what I have to complete at the end of the day and what I have to complete at the end of the week.
Okay, great rituals, guys. If you like this show, do follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The link is www.facebook.com/FoundersGyan and twitter.com/FoundersGyan. Both these provide you daily tips and articles as well as resources to help and inspire your startup. There are multiple tips per day. Some examples of these tips would be articles on the latest startups, growth hacking tips, how do you build team for startups, how to get funding, etc. So don't forget facebook.com/FoundersGyan and twitter.com/FoundersGyan. Now, I believe both of you were college mates, right? So,
We were
so is
roommates.
that how you
We
met?
were actually roommates. We
Roommates.
were roommates. 4 years
Okay.
we lived together.
Okay, great. So that's how you guys met each other.
Yeah.
Now, what advice would you have for people who are starting out with regards to co-founders? How important is having a co-founder, and what advice would you give them to get good co-founders?
See, it's very important that I think right now all the startups, it's better you have a co-founder at an early stage, because and if not 2, but at least you should have 3 co-founders, right? Because as I said, right, this journey is not a very sweet, or it's not only about success. It's not about only sharing the money which you get. You won't get any money to share, first of all, right? It's about sharing the burden which you have. That's the first thing that you have to think about, right? It's not about, many people think that if I'm going to have a co-founder, I'm going to share all my this thing and I'm going to lose it. I'm like, that's actually a wrong thing to do, because it's all about hardships, right? And that's the thing. And if you can actually find someone who shares the same passion, and in my case, Amrit and me, like we were on dot, right? We want to do this. And then we got clarity that we want to do this when we were in second year of college.
Right.
And that too in an odd space like hiring.
Right.
Because we found it extremely cool, and why not, right? Both of us together, we can do better things.
Right. Amrit?
I think it's always essential to make sure that you take somebody along with you who is your alter ego or who complements you in the right way. For example, when me and Guru were ideating, Guru would always look at it from the technology point of view, and I would always look at it from a business point of view. If I came up with an idea from the business side, he would try to look at it from the technology point of view. So in that way, I could probably tell him a few things, the viability of the business from business point of view, and he could probably tell me something from the technology point of view, how viable things are and how easy or how tough it is. So in that way, having a co-founder, it's necessary not just to have a co-founder who has your same opinion, but it's very necessary to have a co-founder who questions you. So he questions me and I question him. So that way we work out quite well.
Right. So I think one of the things that I'm getting here is it's important or maybe useful to have a co-founder who you personally know before, because then both of you can question each other, compliment each other. You're not afraid to raise.
It's like having the right kind of a jugalbandi.
Yeah,
right.
That's it always worked as, because if you're going to start up, the practical thing is hiring someone is extremely. I'm doing a hiring business. I'm telling you, hiring a person is extremely costly affair, and it's a big thing to do. Having the co-founder makes a lot of logical sense to you. And yeah, as Amrit said, it's about the mutual understanding, right? So for example, when I come up with the product design, right, and then when I pitch Amrit will try to find the mistakes, and when Amrit tries to write an article, I just point out the mistakes in it. The reason why we do it, we don't want someone else to keep doing it with us. So we have this healthy debate. It's not that we're arguing or fighting all the time. Of course, the process might take a lot of time, but then it gives us the stability to go forward. If I was alone doing it, I could have done it pretty fast, but I don't know when it's going to crash, right?
Right. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us something about yourself that is not commonly known? Maybe your friends would be surprised to hear, both of you.
My friends don't know, but I am to a certain extent a poker player.
Okay.
I don't really play a lot with my friends poker, but I do play it.
Okay, I'm actually during late nights I almost spend 1 to 2 hours a day studying about quantum mechanics and time travel and such. I read such crazy books, right?
Okay.
I don't really blog or write about it. People might get crazy opinions, but now I think it's I'll have to be more open having said it. Yeah.
Open.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, what is the best advice somebody has given you, or alternatively best advice you have heard and try to follow in your work and your life?
The recent advice is from a book I read. Make small decisions on a day-to-day basis, because being an entrepreneur, and especially if you have a tech background, you tend to get enthusiastic about every small idea you get. So for example, this morning a quick feature bounced off my head which I could include in my product, and I got so very frustrated about it. And then I was telling to Amrit, and I was also telling my other team members, right, we should get it done. But then such things are quite wrong, right? You should have that balance. We as doers, we get a lot of ideas, but you should maintain the thing. A quick tip is make small decisions, right? And make small decisions can be implemented faster, right? So big decisions always have multiple checkpoints before you can make a major decision. So that especially for young entrepreneurs, we tend to lose the focus a lot of times, because that's something only experienced people can do.
Right.
They say that young people can't do, but I think if we follow these small things, if we try to we can get more focus eventually, right? At least we'll get few stability, right? Go slowly.
I think one of the biggest advices that I have heard or I've read is the fact that you should listen to all but follow your own footsteps.
Right.
Because there are a lot of people out there today. Everybody is having their own opinions.
Yeah.
But we got to make sure that we take all those opinions, assimilate it, but form our own thoughts, our own ideas.
Great.
That's a
great tip. Thanks a lot, Amrit and Guru, for sharing that. Now, let's talk about inspiring our listeners. Now, we all know that startups come with a lot of pressure. You guys have talked about it enough and more in this interview. Now, give us some tips on how we can handle pressure when things aren't going well.
See, if you're actually working hard, you should know how to party the best, right? Even if you are having a tough schedule, make sure that you take a day off and party to the core, right? Meet your friends you've not really met, and just do it. Don't find any reason, right? Of course, wasting the time, right? You're going to lose something. But this exercise of just breaking off your daily routine is go to some random place and do beer or anything that helps you take out of the and just get back to normal, right?
Okay, great.
I think pressure is an external stimulus, but the way we respond, we can choose to respond the way we want to. And I prefer being as silent as possible and making sure that whatever I have to do, I do it the best.
Yeah, so and having said that, again, it's about how we look at it, right? See, we mostly, when entrepreneurs get pressured is, right, when you keep seeing term sheets and someone else says how to run your business, right? That tension you have, right? I mean, like,
or somebody else gets gets
exactly.
funded.
Yeah. When your competitor does a press release about so those things, right, kind of tends to tip off your balance. But
right.
So you shouldn't really take all these things very seriously.
Right. We keep saying, what worst can happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Whenever there is a pressure situation, what is the worst thing
that's
that can
something
happen?
we both do it whenever we find spot one such technical such type of pressuring situations, right? We just jot down the worst case scenario, right, and then we'll see where we are. So we are not here yet,
right?
So we have a lot of way to go. So that's how we look at it.
If you know the worst case scenario, that's fine. I mean,
right. Great advice, guys. It also reminds me of this quote that a lot of pressure is self-built. It's really not maybe that bad.
It's in your mind. Everything is
in your mind.
It's in your mind. Yeah.
Okay, great tips. Now, you're young entrepreneurs, but you already have a lot of experience in entrepreneurship based on your SRM and now obviously Xobin. So can you tell us your worst entrepreneurial moment and how did you turn it around? Or doesn't matter whether you turned it around or not. More importantly, the lessons you learned from that experience. One of you can take this.
Worst as in like so I think a lot of worse things happen, right? Every week we face some terrible things, right?
Right. Pick the one that sticks.
We would have gone to some pitching competition or some competition, right? And there we would have had a bad luck there,
right?
And the problem is we would not have expressed ourselves very clearly, and but we would have spent a lot of time doing that because we see 3 months competitions 3 months down the line, and we would have spent a lot of time. Our team's a lot of time would have gone in, but then we wouldn't have done it properly. But I think in all those exercises, those are some of the bad moments. But whatever we do, we make sure that we conduct experiments. Because that's another advice which I've heard, right? We should conduct a lot of experiments to ourselves, right? Whatever thing we are doing, we should be new, so that we have continuous learning experience. So irrespective of the outcome of this event or the funding scenario, we should have learned something new, right? So in that way, that I'm a winner, right? No matter what happens, right? I've learned something new.
Excellent.
So I think at SRM search engine, when we were building a huge team, we to a certain extent did manage to have a pretty good team, but there may have been a few decisions that we might have taken which probably might have ruined a couple of friendships because for the betterment of the project, because we were running it very professionally, but there were a few friends, and to a certain extent maybe we might have taken a few decisions in the better interest of the team, which may have caused...
It was a government-funded project, right? So we had to be very serious, right? So almost we lost all our friends in this exercise.
I mean, sometimes you got to put the interest of the business ahead of your personal relations. Great. Now, what is the future? We just have a couple of more questions. We are almost at the end of the interview. So what is the future you envision for your company?
I think... we want to really change the way how startups hire technical talent, right? And I think again the reason why we started up is not because to take a sexy idea to create a hockey stick business and get funding. We are damn passionate about what we are doing, right? And we want to change the way how startups hire, not just in India, but we want to make a global impact, right? Xobin should be the default tool which any early to mid-stage startup chooses for hiring good talent in their company. And I think if we can reach that in a period of 3 to 4 years, it's cool enough.
I think Guru has put it the best way possible.
Okay, great. Now, Can you recommend any books or resources for budding entrepreneurs? I know you guys
Definitely.
read a lot, so probably top 2 books from each of you.
So I think on the startup community, everybody would have read it, but start with 0 to 1, right? It talks a good deal about things, and then the recent book I read, The Rework, right? And you can also read how Google works.
One of my favorite books that I always recommend people is Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a very simple book, but it also gives a lot of insights into finance, personal finance, and I feel it's something which is very essential for everybody, and more importantly for an entrepreneur. Another book which I was reading very recently, which I found very interesting, was Alex Ferguson's book on leadership, where he talks about how he built a sports organization like Manchester United into such a great club, where he had to manage people with big egos, like big football players.
Right,
true.
He had to do everything, right from managing those players to the finances of the club to making the branding of the club. So that book was, I think we learned a lot from that book about all the aspects of management, because I feel a football manager is, in a true sense, can be compared to a CEO in the world.
Right.
And there are a lot of subject-centric books which you can read. Suppose if you're passionate about marketing, you should read this book called as Purple Cow, right? And and if you are in B2B SaaS space, you can read this book called as Predictive Revenue, and then for post which there is another book called the CEO Flow. The same author, I think, has written it. That's if you're in B2B SaaS space, right? It's a different field in itself. It's not like B2C. So B2B SaaS, that's a cool book. Those 2 books are worth reading.
Thanks, Guru. I think since you're a big reader, I think we might have to schedule a different session for
Sure.
all the books that you have read. Interesting books.
Yeah.
Now, Xobin is only 3 months old, but is there anything dramatic you have learned in these 3 months since you started, and is there anything you would change and do different if you were to start this today?
I think 3 months old, we have a big luxury of tweaking our product. That's one advantage which we have than any of our competitors. That's how we see, right? We don't worry that we are too small, right? And then I think we've more than 3 months we've spent another almost 3 to 4 years of our lives in understanding the space.
Right.
Yeah, our startup is 3 months old, but we've spent 3 to 4 years.
Right.
But since the startup is old, right now we are actually testing route. We've actually locked in a lot of pilot customers, and we are tweaking a product. And we've just started for PR releases, so we can tweak a product and make sure that.
But is there anything you would change if you started today?
Changes.
And would you do anything different in your journey?
We've always
whatever
been
we
iterative
are,
in nature.
Yeah, sure. So we are right now. We are in this good space. We are being mentored by Infosys co-founder and the co-founders and their team, and Aacharya Ventures. We are right now, and so whatever place we have reached is because of the decisions we have
taken over the past,
and so we are happy. But I think having gone back, I could have, sometimes we tend to be a little bit rude with people and lost few connections, right? I think we could have, avoided such incidents so that we would have been in a better place today. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, how can our listeners get in touch with you? Obviously, they can go to Xobin.com and register and use your thing. But personally, if they want to reach out to either of you guys, are you guys active on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook?
Oh, we are active on anything. You can reach us anytime.
We are active on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
Okay, so I will get all those details offline and I'll link it up on the show notes.
Perfect.
Now, I just have one final question, but before we move on to that, I just want to take the time to acknowledge both you guys and thank you for sharing your knowledge to myself and our listeners. I'm also very grateful for the value you're adding into the world by means of your startup, and it's like really great seeing young entrepreneurs like you doing something great in this world. So with that, we'll move on to the final question. So this is for each of you. So if there's only one Gyan that you could give our would-be founders, what would that be?
Take something which you love, passionate about, and just don't give up. Right? Just do whatever you feel is correct in that way.
Okay, great.
I don't think I am in a position to give Gyan to a lot of people, but I'd just like to tell people, keep listening and keep learning from the world and make sure you can give back something to the world. There are a lot of problems which are there in the world, and I guess you got to be persistent and creative. keep trying.
Right. And great advice, both you guys. I think it's one of the least looked things, right? I mean, startups are solving people's problems, the problems of the world. So I think it's a noble profession, being in a startup.
It's not about valuation, right? It's about
It's about the value that you can give.
Right. I think people need to get the making money valuation out of their head,
exactly.
and think about how they can, it's like an NGO, right? I mean, you're trying to do something to help people overcome problems.
But
right?
if you say that, nobody will fund us. That is one thing.
Right, that's true. So thank you so much, Amrit and Guru, for your time, and it was a real pleasure chatting with you, and wish you continuing success in your
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ram.
There you have it, folks. Another inspiring startup and the founders behind it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did in bringing it to you. Do check out FoundersGyan.com/EP44 for the show notes. You can also use this link to share the show with your friends, or simply just email them the link. I'll see you all next week with yet another startup and its founder. But in the meantime, I hope you do got inspired and take action on your own startup journey today. Good luck and have a great rest of the week ahead.